Hi everybody! So everybody has been begging me, wanting me to post my video on Did the Right One Win? This is my series that I have done on the animated Oscars, and I have reviewed every single year from 2001 all the way to the current year. And so let's review all of the nominees. I'll give you my thoughts on each of the nominees, and I will tell you if I think the right film won. So let's start with Boy and the World. And this was a surprise nominee for many people, including myself, and it comes out of Brazil. There's a filmmaker animator named Ale Abue, sorry if I pronounced that wrong, that this was kind of his baby, and it is beautifully animated story using hand-drawn animation about a little boy in the country in a mysterious unnamed place, and his father ends up leaving in order to find work. He's unemployed, and so his father goes away, and the boy ends up going after his father at a certain point. He ends up seeing all of this new stuff that's in the city that he had never seen before in the country. Get a sense of the relationship between the father and the son. It's done using sort of a stick type drawings of the characters, but it still managed to effectively show emotion, particularly the scene where the boy has to say goodbye to his father at the train stop. I thought that was really moving. Terry conflict going on that he sees. You see tanks, you also see traffic, you see the streets, all the movement of a city compared to the country, and he even ends up at a landfill at a certain point. All this is beautifully animated, and there's a certain kaleidoscope feel to it all. There's a combination of 2D and also some sort of paper mache look where you get real photographs mixed in with the drawings, so it's really interesting visually and artistically. The music does a lot to sell the movie. It has a mixture of sort of a samba feel, you get some steel drums. The music is by Ruben Pfeffer and Gustavo Coulat, and I thought it was excellent. It's very absorbing, it's very infectious, it makes you want to be a part of the story. And so I really enjoyed Boy in the World. It was a very pleasant surprise, and I'm so excited that people have been really responding to this film in Latin America and in Brazil, and they feel a sense of kinship and ownership of it, and that's just great. And that's what I like to see in animation, that we're expanding into new groups, and the Academy is so great at recognizing those kinds of markets and those kinds of films. So good job. I have no problem with it being nominated, even though I personally would have picked the Peanuts movie over it, but it's still a quality film, so I really can't argue that much with it. Next film that is nominated is Anomalisa.
I think you're extraordinary.
Why?
I don't know yet. It's just obvious to me that you are. Our time is limited, we forget that.
Film by Charlie Kaufman, and I must be honest, I watched this film and I had to skip over a couple different segments of the strong sexual nature of the content, but I still feel like I saw enough of it to get an overall feel of the tone and story and to make some kind of commentary. So I guess take this with a grain of salt. If you can discount my comment because I didn't technically watch the entire film, then that's fine. In the story of Anomalisa, Charlie Kaufman gives us this character of Michael. And Michael is a man who's written this book about customer service, particularly for telemarketers kind of things. And so he is out to give this speech to he's in Cincinnati, to give this speech to a group about how to give better customer service. But he's feeling very, very depressed. And the main thing that has him depressed is he just feels like everything is the same and nothing is unique, nothing is different, nothing stands out. To sort of building up his character as this extremely cynical character who is just frustrated with his life, frustrated with his wife, frustrated with his child, and every character except for Elisa and Michael have the same voice and the same face in many sequences. So Charlie Kaufman is really trying to sort of make visionary sort of statements with this film, and nothing is sort of shallow about it. He meets this woman named Lisa, and Lisa stands out because she has a scar on her face and there's something about her voice that's different. He starts talking with her, and she has sort of a unique perspective because she feels really down on herself. She thinks that she's not really very valuable, very unique, and yet he sees this innate uniqueness. So it's sort of this interesting juxtaposition. Then they end up talking through the night, and they end up becoming intimate with each other, and like I said, part of that part I skipped over. And then the intimacy is over, and all of a sudden he sort of starts to see her in sort of this new light where they're eating breakfast. She starts talking about things, and all of a sudden she's starting to become less unique and less of an anomalisa, because it's Anomaly and Lisa. And so all of a sudden he gets really worried, and he's thinking about leaving his wife for this woman. He has this manic episode, this sort of panic attack while he's giving the speech, because he's thinking about Lisa, and he's thinking about all of these people are all the same, everybody's the same. And he ends up storming into this office space, and you see everybody that's working there looks exactly like Lisa. And so there's sort of this point, he ends up going home, and his wife has thrown this surprise party for him, and everything's the same. Related to it in the sense of that sort of deadness of modern work, and how we just get pounded into the sameness. There's just so little creativity in anything that we do in modern work. So I liked that part of it, but it's pretty cynical. And I do feel like the sensuality in the last segment of the movie became kind of a distraction, where I felt like he could have really punched through this message about how this Anomalisa character was really different instead of these superficial differences, was what we had seen before. No doubt that this movie is beautiful. The stop motion is amazing. It looks real. You forget at a section, it's this weird combination of realism, because it looks so fluid, the way the hands move, the way they walk, the way all of that looks so good. But then you have things that sort of break the reality, which makes sort of an artistic statement, which is interesting. Like you see the outlines of the masks from the 3D printers that they used, you can see them. So that adds to sort of the feeling of all of these people are robots, and all of these people don't have any real core identity. I don't know, it's sort of like a Brave New World, or that kind of a story of, you know, sort of the world turning everybody into sameness, and how do you deal with that? How do you maintain your humanity in a world of sameness? And in the end, the answer is kind of cynical, that you really can't. That's what I think. So it's definitely worth watching if you can handle that adult content, and if you can handle that kind of message. So there you go. There's a lot of profanity even within skipping that those X-rated sensuality scenes. Next, we had Inside Out.
What do we do now?
Nothing's working. Why isn't it working?
We have a major problem.
Oh, I wish Joy was here.
We can fix this. We just have to get back to headquarters.
That's long-term memory. You could get lost in there.
Think positive.
Okay. I'm positive you will get lost in there.
What was that? Was it a bear?
There are no bears in San Francisco.
I saw a really hairy guy. He looked like a bear.
It is from the mind of Pete Docter, and it is about this girl named Riley who has to move with her family from Minnesota over to San Francisco. And I've talked so much about this movie, I feel like it's a little bit redundant at this point. But basically, she has 5 emotions in her head. And we all do, but she has anger, joy, sadness, disgust, and fear. Joy is the lead emotion in Riley. She's always been a very happy girl, and now this huge change of having to move to San Francisco has thrown everything awry. There's these little balls that symbolize different memories, and the memories that are happy are yellow, the memories that are sad are blue, etc. And all of a sudden, some of the memories that were core memories that hold up, the core memories hold up different parts of Riley's islands of personality. And each of these memories, these core memories, are starting to change. And Sadness, the character of Sadness, is starting to feel a draw to changing the memories from being happy to sad. And that makes total sense when you think about it. When you move somewhere, or say you lose somebody, a really joyous memory can all of a sudden feel sad because that person is no longer there, or you are no longer there where you were. So there's this new dynamic that makes so much sense when you're dealing with somebody who is 11. Okay, and so it ends up that Joy tries to stop Sadness from changing the memories from happiness to sad, and they end up getting sucked into the land of long-term memory and have to try to figure out a way to get back so that Riley can feel happiness and sadness. And what you get is this amazing journey that Joy, it starts out feeling like happiness equals fun. And as she goes through the different experiences that she goes through, she learns that happiness is this much richer experience, which makes sense because an 11-year-old is going to have some of those realizations right around that time. And so you get the dual story also of Riley all of a sudden going through all these changes and not being able to feel joy and not being able to feel sadness. And so she's just blank. She's just empty. And you get this depression that's just so beautifully animated. And then Joy and Sadness meet Bing Bong, who is Riley's imaginary friend. So confident at the beginning that Riley, of course, will want to play with Bing Bong. She's in denial of the fact that Riley really is becoming this more fully fledged person. And so it's this, each step along the way is Joy sort of understanding more about Riley and understanding more about what real happiness is. So many creative instances within the film. You get the abstract thought segment where they try to take a shortcut to emotional growth, and they end up almost dying because they're in this abstract thought machine, which I thought was brilliant. Because there are no shortcuts to emotional health. They go through Imagination Land, which was so creative and amazing. That everything in Imagination Land is changing and morphing, and that was brilliant for an 11-year-old. The voice casting is brilliant. Richard Kind is so good as Bing Bong. You've got Amy Poehler as Joy, and you have Phyllis Smith as Sadness. She's great. You have Mindy Kaling as Disgust. There's a lot of humor there. Louis Black as Anger. They get most of the jokes of the movie. There's a lot of little hidden jokes that I thought were great, like when they spill out the facts and opinions, and they're like, oh, that happens all the time. Great jokes like that. Of course, you've got congratulations, San Francisco, you ruined pizza. Just really funny stuff, and just an emotional resonance at the end of the film that I think is as strong as anything Pixar has ever done when Riley tells her parents that I miss home. And that just, oh, so good. It's so good. So yeah, I loved Inside Out. The film we're gonna talk about is Shaun the Sheep movie.
Get ready to meet the new flock on the block. Small sheep, big city, knockout fun.
And this is claymation, stop motion, from the team at Aardman. I think that Aardman movies are massively underrated, and that for some reason they just don't get the play in the States that they deserve. This movie only made $18 million in the US, and I don't understand why that's the case. This movie is such a funny, sweet little comedy. And it kind of has the tropes of a silent movie, and you have Shaun that is based on the show that is Shaun the Sheep TV show you can watch online on Amazon Prime if you get that. And Shaun is a little bit bored. He's bored of this life. He's bored with dealing with the farmer. He wants something different. And so he decides to take a day off. He sees a sign on a bus and decides to take a day off, and him and his friends go to the big city, and things end up getting really complicated. There's this animal patrol guy that's after them that's really funny. There's lots of funny little jokes, like there's scenes where they sort of meld into different advertising that were funny. There's scenes where they have sort of slapstick where they're trying to dress up like humans and they're kind of walking around. There's this scene where they're at dinner and they're kind of, that's very slapsticky and very funny and sort of in the feel of a silent movie. And then the farmer ends up going to try to find his sheep, and he ends up getting amnesia and forgetting who he is and becomes this world famous hairstylist, which I thought was really funny. And because of the way that he shears the sheep, people like it for their hairstyles, and it becomes this big thing. I thought that was very, very funny. And yeah, it's pretty simple movie, but it's sweet and it has some good jokes and I enjoyed it, and great animation always from Aardman. The final film we're going to talk about is When Marnie Was There.
I wish that I was you. I can't go very far from the mansion. I need to get back.
I don't care who Marnie really is. I just want to help her.
Marnie! Promise me something. That will remain a secret.
Yona Bayashi, and he's the same guy who did The Secret World of Arrietty. And this is supposedly the final film from Studio Ghibli, and it is a great way to go out. I loved this movie. It basically tells this story of this girl named Anna who is very, very depressed. That was sort of the theme this year of animated films, is lots of depression. Just funny. But she's very, very depressed, like scarily. So I was surprised how far they went, that she's like thinking she wants to kill herself. She feels so depressed. And so her mother decides to send her to the country to spend time with her sister or in-laws or whatever. And so she is somebody who loves to draw, and so she ends up going to the lake, and she sees this girl at one point with this long blonde hair at this house across the lake. So she starts to explore, and it turns out this girl is this named Marnie, and she's not very loved by her parents. And as Anna gets to know Marnie, she becomes more and more attached, and they become very, very good friends. And it's sort of about this journey of this character from this state of depression to understanding herself and who she is, and that she is loved. Like, there's all this love around her, but what she learns is to recognize that love and understand that love and to feel that love. And I thought that was really beautiful and moving. And the animation is stunning in this film. It is lush, it is bright, it is vivid, and I loved the sound mixing and sound design. Like, it really felt like when she was stepping into water, you could feel the water. It just was so vivid. It really works. And the ending was surprising and moving, and it worked for me. I could see how it wouldn't work for everybody. It's sort of different and weird, but it's all about sort of a family trying to save a little girl from, or a young woman, not a little girl, a young woman from depression. And that's the point of the story. I thought it was beautiful and I really liked it. Great music, once again, as they always get from Studio Ghibli. So those are 5 very strong, unique entries. There's only one CG film, which is kind of amazing when you consider the current animation landscape. I think you guys all know, for me, Inside Out won, and it is the clear best of these 5 films. I think it is one of the best animated films I've ever seen. So I guess that goes a long way for me. And I know that a lot of people felt like the Peanuts movie should have been nominated. I'd agree. I think it is better than Boy in the World, but they're so different. A lot of it just depends on the visual style that you like. But I think that Peanuts movie wasn't given enough credit for the new and different techniques that it used in creating hybrid animation. And so just because it's CG does not necessarily mean it wasn't any more groundbreaking than Boy in the World or any other film. But nevertheless, that's not what happened. And I think that Inside Out was the clear frontrunner in my mind and in the mind of most people. So it won, and it, I think, was the right one to win. So there you go. I don't think any of these are bad films. I think they're all good films in their own way. And I think it's really interesting, shows the depth of animation and all the different voices that you can get out there. And so put it in the comment section and let me know what you think of these 5 films. And if you feel differently than me, if you think that one should have won over another, over Inside Out, then put it in the comment section. Let's talk about it. And thanks so much. Please subscribe to my channel. I'll talk to you later. Bye.